Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first Saturday edition of Weekend Waypoints of the 2025 season. Weekend Waypoints is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors, our new sponsor for Weekend Waypoints, and a whole bunch of other stuff over at d1baseball.com. We are thrilled to have Academy Sports and Outdoors as part of the D1 Baseball team, family, if you will. Many a day as a Ute growing up in the Houston area, spent putzing around Academy Sports and Outdoors. A lot of good memories there. So thank you to those guys for sponsoring the show. Uh, hey, we did it! Opening day. Congratulations, everybody. We got a lot of games in trying to trying to beat some weather in the southeast this weekend. So congrats to everyone who successfully did that. Seemed like everything went fairly smoothly doing that on Friday. So good stuff there. Um, to those who are new to our show, I introduced the premise yesterday, but let's introduce the premise of the Saturday show today. We'll spend most of it recapping Friday around the SEC, and then at the end we'll talk a little bit about what's coming up on Saturday. So, going to take a longer look at Friday's games before we transition to Saturday. So, already a YouTube comment, William Cantrell, the power arms are back for Tennessee, and yeah, we'll talk about that because certainly a very impressive performance out in Knoxville for one Mr. Liam Doyle. So we will definitely talk about that. All right, we always start with the game of the day. In this case, it's Ole Miss 2, Arizona 1. Fun game. I was able to catch a decent bit of this while I was at my own games that I was covering, and it was, if you're Ole Miss, it kind of followed the script that you were hoping it would, right? You had a good start from Hunter Elliott, a good, like, healthy, no concerns, like looked like his usual self Hunter Elliott start. You got good bullpen work behind him, primarily from Mason Morris. And then it was, kind of an exciting ending. Connor Spencer comes on late, maybe it sprays the ball a little bit, puts some men on. Arizona's threatening. They got a late home run from Mason White, who's a baller. Like, that home run was kind of an example of what he can do. But ultimately, they close it out. They get the win, and that's huge for Ole Miss. Like I said this weekend, this is all about showing, hey, we're a different team. We can compete with these with this level of competition as we move forward, and they showed that. So impressive stuff there for Ole Miss, and that is my game of the day from Friday. Fun atmosphere. Kendall Rogers was there on site, wrote about it for the site. So if you haven't checked out his story from that game, then please do so. Please do so as we move forward. Okay, already some comments here. We got a couple Vol fans on X. GBO, go Big Orange, and then go Vols. Shout out to you guys. Good day for the Vols yesterday. A lot of fun. Carl Dunn, a returning commenter from last season. Good morning, Joe. A great start for LSU. Welcome back, college baseball. Yeah. A breakfast start this morning. Yeah, a lot of early games today, including where I'm heading to Wilmington, Georgia, playing early. I'm probably not making it for first pitch, considering that's in about an hour. But we'll see Georgia play Quinnipiac and UNC Wilmington today. That UNC Wilmington game, obviously the big game of the day in Wilmington. So looking forward to that. Lane Robertson on YouTube says Hunter Elliott looked good in his return. He absolutely did. Kendall, in our internal messaging at D1 Baseball, sent along a message that said, yeah, he looks really sharp. And look, if Ole Miss is going to move back towards being a postseason team, they're going to need him to be that. So that was huge. Nicholas Doherty, another returning commenter to the show. Texas bullpen was shaky. Do you think that's just early season stuff, or should that be a concern? It's a little of both. I think early season stuff, yes. I also think, Louisville, I think, is a pretty good offense. I'm not sure how good Louisville will or won't be this year, but I was impressed with them yesterday. I watched basically all that game because I was back at the hotel by that point. So it was an area of concern for me coming into the season. I won't lie to you. but I do wonder if this is just kind of early season stuff. Let's give it the rest of the weekend because obviously they're going to have to use more bullpen as this weekend goes on, and let's see what we get before we talk a little more about that. But yeah, that is something to watch, Nicholas. I think you're onto something there. Um, Visa V16 on YouTube. Morning, Joe. Good morning. A little bit of a slow start in game one for the Arkansas Bats, but a 2-0 day. Yeah, got a little hairy there in the first game. Got taken to extra innings, and then Washington State takes the lead. That they're able to. Arkansas is able to cut down another run though from scoring, and then ends up surviving and winning the game. So, yeah. But then in the second game, obviously, was a lot cleaner. I think that's just. I think that's just kind of a thing that happens. Washington State is a solid team. If you'd have told me it's going to be at least one game this weekend where Arkansas gets pushed a little bit, I would have totally believed that. It just so happened to be the first one, right? Rizzy with 3 Z's, so extra Rizzy. On YouTube, Liam and Tanner hitting 98 yesterday. Marcus Phillips starts the day, then get up to 100. And we have Nate Snead, who will probably start Sunday, who stays in the hundreds. Yeah, a lot of velocity at Tennessee. That is one thing that they are really bringing to the table. I'm excited to see Marcus Phillips. Obviously, competition level, is what it is, but for today. But just kind of excited to see how he handles a starting role, because it's obviously going to be a lot different from what he did last year, where he was a very, a short reliever used in very specific situations. All right, let's move on to our hitter of the day. And before we get into the specific candidates and then the winner, wanted to give a shout out to Cade Ballou of Arkansas. Yesterday hit a home run, and you think, oh, it's a great day for him. But then you find out the context of, lost his mom yesterday, but wanted to play. His mom wanted him to play, so he takes the field, hits a home run in an Auburn win. Obviously, it was an emotional scene for him, and I think for everybody who understood what was happening there. And look, on a personal note, like it hits home for me because I lost my mom to cancer, much like Cade did, when I was 19, and so like I can understand the impulse to be like, hey, I'm going to kind of go on with my life and try to try to deal with it the best way I can, but also understanding how torn up he is, right, as a young person losing a parent. I've been there, so I can, I feel like I have a unique perspective into how difficult yesterday was for him and how good it must have felt to be lifted up by his teammates, especially after having the day that he had yesterday. So shout out to Cade and thinking about him because that's a tough deal. So he's our honorary hitter of the day, if nothing else. So because of his everything that was going on around that yesterday. Okay. Let's talk. First for Jason Armstrong on YouTube. Joe, you see Liam Peterson. Goodness gracious, he throws strikes now. 97 with that slider. Glad the Tigers won't face him in the regular season. Yeah, Jason's an LSU supporter. Yeah, I was wondering. I did not see the start yesterday, but I was wondering which Liam Peterson that we get this season. The one that struggled kind of at the beginning and at the end, or the one that in the middle looked like he was starting to put it together. And through one start, kind of looks like somebody who's putting it all together. And so I'll have to watch a little more intently moving forward in his outings, because I did not see it. Or although I get, maybe I'll make a point to go back and watch it on, we have some of the tools where I can watch, kind of like the coaching staffs do, where I can watch video of the starts and condenses it all down to like 15 minutes. It's a cool little tool. So perhaps I'll do that during the week just to get a real quick glimpse of it. All right, let's talk candidates for hitter of the day. As anybody who's returning to the show knows, I'll go through a bunch of candidates I think that could be, called the hitter of the day from Friday. Then we will choose one, but really it's kind of an excuse of an exercise just to talk about some of the results of the day without just sitting here reading scores at you. So let's get into it. Robbie Burnett of Georgia, they got a win over Quinnipiac. Expected result, but a fun day for Robbie Burnett. Just 1 of 1. But he had a double. That one was a double. Drove in a run and stole 4 bases. Just kind of a weird little stat line there for him. Cole Hagee of Kentucky. They split a doubleheader with Lipscomb. We'll see how good Lipscomb is or isn't this season, but that was a road series, so Kentucky's hoping that loss is not all that damaging, and the fact that it's on the road obviously helpful there. 5 of 8 with a home run, 3 runs batted in, and 4 runs scored for Cole Hagee, the Columbia transfer. Bryce Chance of Mississippi State, and speaking of which, got a message here from Tucker Medlin on YouTube. It's only Manhattan, but State just taking care of business against a lesser opponent is something they didn't do the last 3 years. I would agree. Yeah, I think this non-conference season for Mississippi State is going to be about just showing that, hey, we're back to just rolling over teams that we should handle easily. Now, they've got Missouri State coming up. Missouri State's pretty talented. Like, I do think they'll provide a little bit of a stiffer test, but it is big for right now for State to just say, okay, we're just not going to mess around. We're just going to just win these games like we should, and then move on. And Bryce Chance, a big part of that yesterday, 5 for 7 with 2 doubles and 4 runs scored. Brent Iredale of Arkansas, 4 for 8 with a double and 5 runs batted in. A lot of that damage, obviously, in over 2 games, which a lot of these people are. Hagee was 2 games, Bryce Chance was 2 games. So, some differentiators there in stats, because some guys played 1 game and some guys played 2. Daniel Dickinson of LSU, 3 for 4 with a double and 5 runs batted in. Obviously, he's going to be an important piece for the Tigers, a big name transfer from Utah Valley. Good first game there for him. Gavin Keelan from Tennessee. Tennessee kind of, its offensive production was pretty well dispersed through the lineup, but Gavin Keelan, 2 for 3 with a double and a triple on opening day. Justin LeBron of Alabama, obviously one of the most exciting players in college baseball. They won a game against Bradley. He was 2 for 3 with 2 doubles and 5 runs batted in. Interesting on the mound for Bama. I've only looked at the I only looked at the box score. I didn't see any of this game, so I'm not exactly sure the context. I'll be honest with you, but Bama used about 1 million pitchers yesterday, and so I don't know if it was. Again, I don't have the context. I don't know if it was just that they were struggling. I think Bradley scored 6 runs, so they did produce some offense. I don't know if they were sending a message that, hey, we got to find something here, or what the deal was there. But they used a whole bunch of guys. RJ Austin of Vanderbilt started off the game. First pitch of the game against Grand Canyon, hits a double. Ends the game 3 for 5 on the day. Obviously, he's going to be right in the middle of everything for that Vanderbilt offense. But the hitter of the day is Trey Gamble from Oklahoma. Probably somebody you haven't heard a ton about unless you are a Sooner supporter. He was on base all 8 times. He came to the plate in yesterday's doubleheader against Lehigh. He went 4 for 4, 2 doubles. He also walked 4 times, and he stole 2 bases. Now that is a full day. That is a stat stuffing line, like an NBA player who has a triple double and then also mixes in 4 blocks and 3 steals. Just doing all kinds of stuff. Big day for Trey Gamble of Oklahoma. And look, the question with Oklahoma is, can you build out the lineup around Easton Carmichael and Jackson Willits and build a competent offense? And so to have some guys that, I'll be honest, I don't know much about, putting up days like that, I think is a big deal. So good stuff there for Trey and Oklahoma. Carson Jones on YouTube, congrats to every SEC baseball team that won a game on opening day. Yeah, congrats there. Tough one for Mizzou, by the way, in that regard, losing 10-0 to Penn State. Not how you want to start it. Look, I think Penn State's pretty decent, but still, like, just getting rolled by Penn State, not a great opening day for Missouri. Certainly, they will press on and try to finish up the weekend strongly, but that was not exactly what you're looking for there for the Tigers. Sean Miller, returning frequent commenter. Good to see you, Sean, on YouTube. Selfishly have to admit, even though A&M didn't look great in nasty weather yesterday, it felt awful good to see that new Texas coach trip over, fall on his face in his first game. I will leave most of that comment there, Sean. But yeah, that was a fun game. Texas and Louisville, it didn't go the Longhorns' way. I actually had it written down, so if Texas fans want to blame me for a jinx, I was going to make it a co-game of the day along with the Ole Miss win over Arizona. But that was when Texas was up 2-0 in the 9th. And obviously that did not end 2-0 in the 9th. That ended up a Louisville victory. And, good on Louisville, obviously. I'm interested to see what their season does. For Texas, we talked about the bullpen issues, but there were some good things there. Jared Spencer, certainly part of that. So you know, uh, just is what it is. But again, you can blame me if Texas fans for that jinx there. Okay, speaking of pitching performances, Jared Spencer was good. A lot of others were as as well. Excuse me. So let's talk pitcher of the day. Let's just, I guess, start there. Since I mentioned Jared Spencer, 5 2/3 innings, 4 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. That's good from the standpoint of he's transitioning to being a starter for the first time as a full-time guy. Did some of that at Indiana State, but mostly a reliever. So that's good. And then obviously the quality of the opponent speaks well of what he did. So a good day there for a guy that Texas is really going to need this season. Paul Farley of Georgia, another guy I don't know a ton about, but against Quinnipiac, they had the game in hand. So he ends up going 5 innings, giving up 1 hit and no runs. Nick McKay in his opening day starter for Kentucky, game 1 starter, I guess, because they played 2 yesterday. 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, no runs. A lot of positive stuff I heard about Nick McKay in the fall and in the preseason for Kentucky. He's the South Dakota State transfer who's a 7th-year senior. So a good first day there for him. Pico Cone of Mississippi State, another guy who's going to be really important for State this season. 5 innings pitched, 1 hit, no runs, no walks, 11 strikeouts. Kind of Liam Doyle-esque numbers there for Pico against Manhattan. Gabe Gackel of Arkansas, 5 innings pitched, 1 hit, no runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. That's kind of what you expect there for Gabe. In a tough environment to pitch in, frankly. Fayetteville was really cold yesterday, and I mean, tough for everybody, obviously. Like that's the kind of day where you really don't want to, as a hitter, you really don't want to get one off the handle or off the end because your hands will sting for the rest of the day. But tough to pitch into and stay warm and stay sharp and all that. So Gackel really navigated that well. I chuckle because Carson Jones back on YouTube says, with Schloss being 0-3 in his last 3 games, think we can all agree the game has just passed him by, right? Which made me chuckle. But again, I will leave that comment there, Carson. But funny, made me laugh. Hunter Elliott, we talked about him a little bit earlier. To put numbers on it, 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, no runs. Again, just exactly what they needed him to be. Dylan Eskew from South Carolina. South Carolina played with its food a little bit against Sacred Heart. They end up winning. I think the final score is 5-3. I don't have it here in front of me, but really had to work pretty hard to beat Sacred Heart. Ethan Petrie homered. Obviously, that's going to be a big deal for them. But Eskew in his start through 5 innings pitched, gave up 3 hits with 1 run, no walks, and 9 strikeouts. Liam Peterson of Florida. Speaking of Liam Peterson, we talked about him earlier. 6 innings pitched. That's, for opening day, like 6 innings is a pretty hefty workload. But he was efficient. 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 11 strikeouts. Ryan Prager of Texas A&M. No surprise that he's on this list. 5 innings pitched, 1 hit, no runs, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. J.D. Thompson of Vanderbilt against Grand Canyon, a good solid team. 4 2/3 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. But the pitcher of the day is Liam Doyle, as we mentioned earlier. There were guys that put up similar numbers against similar competition, but for me, Liam Doyle in part is the pitcher of the day because it just shows that his high end ability, like his ceiling, is that of maybe arguably the best starter in the SEC if he's really on his game. He's not as proven as Ryan Prager. He's not as proven as some of these other guys that we just read off in some regards, but he was better than his numbers suggest last year at Ole Miss. I'm pretty adamant about that. The ERA didn't look great, but he was better than that, and he showed it yesterday. It's just Hofstra. I don't want to get ahead of myself here. Plenty of stiffer tests to come down the road, but certainly that was an impressive deal there. Shane on YouTube. Bakich has to watch from his hotel room all weekend. LOL. Yeah, that's a funny little thing. It's actually just the first 2 games. I think on Sunday he can actually go to the ballpark and coach, but Yeah, he's doing the radio broadcast from his hotel room of these games. So I'm assuming he's watching like a live feed of some kind as opposed to just the Flow Sports video, because that'll have a little bit of delay on it. Yeah, but it's kind of a funny deal. If you don't follow John Blau, who writes about Clemson, last name Blau, I saw him tweeting yesterday, like kind of like live tweeting Eric Bakic's radio announcing debut there. So you can check that out if you're interested. Sean Miller comes back on YouTube. Justin Mitrovic of Elon, five innings pitched, 1 hit, no runs, 3 strikeouts. Says that changeup just danced everywhere. Not sure how many teams will one hit A&M through 5 innings pitched this year. Was very impressed by him. Yeah, that after I finished recording yesterday, I kind of thought like I should have maybe mentioned something about that, because yeah, I wasn't shocked. Now he was better than I thought he would be. I thought A&M would get to him early, but I thought there was a chance that he would pitch well yesterday. Justin Mitrovic of Elon is a real dude. He's going to be a draft guy this year, so it was cool to see him do that, and a good test for A&M. I mean, that's an SEC level starting pitcher. So they got a good test yesterday at a time of year when you're not necessarily facing, unless you're playing in one of these big tournaments, you're probably not facing that level of pitcher. And Elon's got some other ones. We might see a couple of other arms this weekend for Elon that are solid. That's what Elon does. They typically, scoring runs can be a little bit of an issue for Elon sometimes, but they do have good pitching talent, and they tend to develop that pitching talent. George Kirby, obviously a big leaguer, came out of there not that long ago. So yeah, good call there, Sean, because I was impressed by that as well. All right, let's wrap up real quick. Game of the day today, Ole Miss and Texas. How could it not be? Matchup between 2 SEC teams in Arlington. And I was listening to the broadcast last night of the Texas game, and Carl Dunn mentions, by the way, I'm going to interrupt myself, Cade Anderson of LSU had a good game yesterday, 1 walk and 8 Ks. Yeah, agreed. He could have been on this list, absolutely, Carl. That's a good call. Cade Anderson being what LSU needs him to be, also a big deal there. But anyway, I was listening to the broadcast yesterday of Texas and Louisville, are watching it, and they mentioned that they had one of the guys who's involved in organizing this deal on the broadcast, and basically the story is pretty simple. Texas and Ole Miss are playing because they scheduled this before Texas was slated to be in the SEC. So that tells you how far out they're scheduling it. He also mentioned, I don't know if this was just an exaggeration or if he was being literal, but he says they're scheduling out now to like 2032 on this tournament, which tells you the demand for a tournament like this, and specifically that tournament where you've got the roof, you've got the heat, you can really control a lot of variables there. So obviously there's a lot of interest in that. So going out to 2032, I mean, at that point you can make some assumptions about who's going to be good, but that's 7 years from now. Like, who knows? Like, a lot can change in 7 years. So, but they're willing to take that risk to get good teams booked up for it ahead of time. So, all right. So Ole Miss and Texas, game of the day today. Riley Maddox on the mound. Texas, Luke Harrison. Riley Maddox for Ole Miss, Luke Harrison for Texas. Should be interesting. I mean, Riley Maddox is a hittable guy. Last year, he did a really nice job just battling through. They really needed a workhorse, and he gave it to him. He didn't have the swing and miss stuff of Liam Doyle for Ole Miss last year, but gave him much needed innings. He is hittable, though, so we'll see how Texas offensively, a very good lineup, does against him there. And then for Texas, Luke Harrison, what do we get? He was good as a freshman a couple of years ago, 2022. Last 2 years, he missed an entire season with injury. Then last year came back and just wasn't effective. ERA was over 9. Can he get back to what he was in 2022? Can he be even better than that? He's going to need to be, frankly, if he's going to stay in the rotation. So excited to watch that. That is the nightcap in Arlington tonight. Should be a fun atmosphere. It should be a fun game. In addition to a lot of good games around the country. So enjoy day 2. I know that the weather starts to get weird today and tomorrow. So hopefully everyone gets their games in. Everyone stays as warm as they possibly can. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Sunday edition of Weekend Waypoints tomorrow. We will talk to you then. Enjoy the baseball, everybody.